Hello and welcome to Next Steps for Seniors, Conversations on Aging. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, and our goal each and every week is to share resources, share information, really dive into what the important and various tasks are as we age. And nobody likes to talk about the information that we do on this program because we all age. It's not a secret. It happens to every single person. So why not be educated about it? Why not have topics that you're thinking about ahead of time before you get yourself into a situation that might cause a fall or something to happen to you as we age. So our goal really is to share information with you. And today is no different. Our topic today is dialysis treatment. So anyone who's ever had dialysis or dialyzing, anyone who is curious if that could be a potential problem, this is a program that you're going to learn all that information. Your kidneys are an amazing component that was created for a specific purpose. And we're very blessed to have Charles Dunn and Ryan Height in the studio with us. Now, Ryan, you're an RN and you're very familiar with dialysis. And I'm fascinated by how the process works and I want to understand it better. So can you explain? I mean, obviously none of us think about our kidneys working 24 hours a day all the time. Mm-hmm. We just don't think about it because it happens automatic.
You know, I think we take it for granted, kidneys and our heart and how we operate. I just think it's totally taken for granted until something happens. And when it happens, then we start figuring it all out. So I'm real happy that Ryan's here today because he's a professional. He's an RN. He knows what he's talking about, and I've had great experiences with his company.
Yes, and so I'd like to understand the cleansing process. Like, what exactly do the kidneys do?
So the two biggest functions that the kidney does is basically pull water out. So every time you drink water, your kidneys help make urine. So that water's got to go somewhere. And not only that, but they're cleaning toxins out of the body. So every time you have, you're constantly moving around, you're making muscle, you're breaking down muscles. So one of those byproducts, the two main byproducts are creatinine and blood urea nitrogen. So those are two lab levels that are an indicator of, if somebody's kidneys are not doing well, you're going to have an elevated BUN, which is your blood urea nitrogen, and your creatinine. And then you'll also see some, you might notice some swelling in your ankles. You might have some difficulty breathing. The water likes to accumulate in everybody differently. So those are the two main functions, is getting fluid out and getting rid of waste products through your urine. And a lot of times people don't even notice that they're having kidney issues. And as you get older, your urination changes, frequency, all those things play a big role. And some people don't notice they're going less and less because sometimes you go more frequently. So it's kind of annoying. And then you start to go less and less. And you're like, this is kind of convenient.
This is a crazy question, but I'm going to ask it because I'm thinking it. Is there a specific, should you go 5 times a day? Is there any kind of standard out in the industry as far as don't go more than 2 times a night? I don't know. I'm asking.
Well, as you get older, it's usual to go more at nighttime, but a lot of times you kind of want to restrict your fluid intake a few hours before you go to bed. You shouldn't be going more than once or twice.
But is it because the bladder is shrinking as you age, or what's the purpose? Do we know?
There's a lot of things behind that for men. Some prostate issues.
Interesting, though.
For women,
why are we going more, right? It happens as we age, but what's the real reason?
Well, you can actually,
I want to know everything.
You can train your bladder. So a lot of times, and this kind of goes into women's health, pelvic floor health, and all those other things. You can train your bladder. So your bladder will get used to if you feel, for instance, and everybody knows this, when you get into a shower or a bath, a hot tub, warm water, what's the first thing that happens after you get in there?
Right. Your brain starts thinking, I got to go to the bathroom.
Exactly. So your body gets used to these things. So you can train your bladder. Now, obviously, you don't want to hold it for too long, but from a medical background, your body makes about 30 cc's of urine an hour. Your bladder is full of different types of cells, so it can expand and contract, but you really shouldn't be going every 1 or 2 hours. It should be around 3 hours And
That's a great answer to my question.
with healthy intake as well, it's going to vary.
Right.
So, Ryan, it's very interesting because the last time I was on the program, I talked about bowel and bladder training. And what I said was that about 2 hours before you go to sleep, drink a lot of fluids. And then before you go to bed, go to the bathroom so that in the middle of the night, you're not having to get up. That is like the most critical thing. And I think that most falls that happen with seniors are in the middle of the night when they're really not quite, their brain is not quite clear. They go to the bathroom and they fall in the bathroom. They hit their head or they have a fracture, and that's when they end up in a nursing home. So I think that bowel and bladder training absolutely is critical.
And you want to try to plan out your day. Unfortunately, it's a nuisance, but like I said, if you can, the quality of water that you're drinking, you want to avoid. I tell everybody, avoid pop. The two leading causes for kidney failure is hypertension, high blood pressure, and diabetes. And the best way to avoid both of those is stay away from sugar water, and that's what pop is.
What about diet pop?
Even diet pop.
Yep.
Good to know.
What about liquor?
Liquor?
Wine.
Alcohol. It's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Alcohol, different types. Wine is a little bit better.
You're supposed to say
obviously.
yes, Ryan. I'm just kidding.
Because I like Stoli Dolis myself.
Yes.
Which is vodka and pineapple juice.
He's hesitating on this question.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah, but honestly, a nutritionist told me probably 5 years ago, stop drinking pop. And I haven't since, because it is a big deal. And it's a huge, everybody drinks pop at some point. I really feel like it.
Well, the Fagensteins that own Fago Pop probably wouldn't want to hear this conversation.
But isn't there like 12 teaspoons of sugar in in a Coke or something like that? So your body's having a hard time breaking that down. So it goes all the way back to the kidneys. And I love that. You just shared that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, the kidneys are very finicky. And again, something like that, it affects your lab levels. And over time, there's different stages. So before you get to be deemed ESRD, end-stage renal disease, you have chronic kidney disease. And there's about 4 stages before you are dependent on dialysis to stay alive.
What are those 4 stages?
So stages 1 through 3 are basically there's a lab indicator. It's called your GFR, your glomerular filtration rate. I'm kind of butchering that name, but that it starts at a high level and then it goes down as your kidney function decreases. So depending on what your GFR is, your eGFR, that's what level you fall on. So typically most people have normal kidney function if your GFR is above like 90, 75, 90. And then as you get lower, you're deemed to have chronic kidney disease from one of those stages. You start to get close to being on dialysis once you hit stage 4.
Is this a blood test you're talking about they can take to know the number? Okay, got you.
Yep. And it goes overlooked a lot.
Well, is it a standard blood test that primary care physicians would do every year?
No.
You almost need to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, listeners, this is good stuff.
Ryan, how could I repair my kidney if it was kind of bad? Is there anything that I can do?
Yes. Yep. So
I want to hear.
A lot of it is diet related. So eating fruits and vegetables, good things in, good things out. You want to maintain good hydration. You don't want to just drink way too much because you can overhydrate. But, overhydrating's kind of better to do than to underhydrate. So your kidneys like kind of being lubricated, right? So the fluid that you bring in kind of helps lubricate and keeps those kidneys moving in a good way.
What do you think about cranberry juice?
Cranberry juice is a good one.
Good question.
Cranberry juice is good. It's also got good bladder health. It's a diuretic, so it'll help you go to the bathroom. So you don't want to drink too much cranberry juice, but it's definitely good to throw in the mix of things that you typically drink.
So what I used to do is take cranberry juice and water, mix them together on a 50-50, and just drink it. It really helped me want to drink water because a lot of people don't like drinking water. Mm-hmm. So how many fluid ounces of water do you think you should drink a day?
So about your weight in ounces in kilograms. So whatever you weigh in pounds, divide it by 2.2. That'll get you to kilograms. Drink that many ounces.
All right, so I weigh 220 pounds. So how many ounces of water? Well, I only know in those plastic bottles, which is 16 ounces. So how many bottles should I be drinking a day? That's simple.
About 7.
7 bottles a day? No way.
What do you drink? 3?
I'll be lucky if I drink 3. I don't drink enough water.
And what about coffee, though? That's a huge thing. And wait, I'm just going to say it. Everyone's like, well, I had water in my coffee.
Yep. It counts, but coffee is also a diuretic, so you don't necessarily need to replace it. And that was old school thinking with diuretics, like whatever you drink in, you have to subtract it because it's going to make you pee even more. But it still it adds to it. But in the end of the day, water is life.
So it's amazing to me that nutrition and water are the key to healthy kidneys.
Yep. They really play a vital role. And overall, I mean, you can't have one system working and thriving without all of the other systems, having some attention paid to them as well. So, I mean, heart health really plays a role in kidney health. Kidney health, you can't have it without every other system.
So if you're overweight, that really says a lot right there just by being overweight. Your kidneys, are they working harder?
Yes. Yep. So if you think about this, I learned this actually early on in dialysis. For every 1 pound of fat that you add onto your body has to produce almost a mile of blood vessels to adequately perfuse that pound of fat.
Okay,
I'm going on a diet today.
I was going to say, we're going to continue this conversation in our next segment. Thank you both. Bless you. Let's continue our conversations on aging. I'm Wendy Jones, your host, and our topic today is dialysis. And we are fascinated by the information we're gaining from both Charles Dunn and Ryan Haidt. And Ryan, you mentioned at the end of the last segment about every pound of fat, and it was kind of so shocking. I think we all were like, what? Can you share that again with our listeners?
Yeah, no problem. So for every pound of fat that your body creates, you have to oxygenate it. You have to perfuse it. So your body has to then create almost a mile's worth of blood vessels, arteries and veins, arterioles, to get oxygen to that and to take oxygen back. So it's mind-boggling to think about that. And in dialysis, that's significant to us because when you're cleaning somebody's blood, you have to obviously access their blood, either going through a fistula or a graft or a catheter that they have. And a lot of times you look at somebody's weight. Weight is typically a good indicator of how long their treatment's going to be. So early on, I looked at that, and one of my mentors, she explained to me that you can't dialyze adipose tissue. And then she kind of told me that fact. But the larger somebody is, typically the more circulating blood volume they have. So that's kind of correlated a little bit with how long their treatment's going to be. But good thing about the therapy we offer is most treatments are under 2 hours versus the conventional 4 hours of a 3-day-a-week treatment. So that's not really an issue with us. Well,
and we're going to get into that more in a short while, but you have a story you wanted to share with our listeners.
Yes. So I was speaking with a patient of ours' daughter yesterday, and she wanted to let me know her mother has been with us for a few months now and has been on dialysis for 3 years. She recently was she's staying at a nursing home, was going outpatient 3 days a week, and she moved locations and started dialyzing with us. And so I like to empower all of my staff. I always encourage them. I tell them to use the gifts that God gave them to serve others. And they take that and run with it.
Amen.
And,
Can you repeat that? I like
that.
what you just said.
It's so true.
I empower my staff to use the talents that God has given them to serve others.
Amen.
And, in the nursing home environment, that is something that we can do. And you lead by serving.
It's so funny that you say that because every time I meet a person, I always say to them, God gave everyone a gift to do something. Find your gift and do it.
Use it.
So exactly what you're saying is so true. I think the people in the nursing home business and are taking care of seniors, they are gifted, and they have found their calling, and they are doing what they enjoy doing. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Every single day they go into work and they can they can put a smile on somebody's face. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this patient's daughter called me and let me know, and she confirmed what we do, and when we try to hire the best staff possible to go in and do this. And she let me know her mother was telling her recently that she was going to be going hospice. She was done. She wasn't happy with life. She just said, it's God's telling me it's my time. And she started dialyzing with us, and our staff do what they do every day. They go in and they put a smile on her face. And she recently decided she said, God's got me here. I love dialysis, and I want to stay on it, and I want to keep going.
Win.
This is like goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps
me too.
right now.
This is a win. This is exactly
beautiful.
what's supposed to happen.
So could you do me a favor and have that person do a testimonial on your website? Because I think it would be very important, because that's what your mission is to tell the story and have other people that may have to consider dialysis. Because, being on dialysis is not the end of the road.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. You can dialyze in a clinic if you want to go to. You can even be dialyzed at home under certain conditions. Let's talk about that. Dialyzing at home with the machines, as long as there's someone to care for you there, it can be done. Why don't you explain that?
Yeah, that's actually a service that we offer. Like I said, there's different modalities. Home dialysis is definitely something that I think is an option. If you go back in time in the United States, back into the 60s and 70s, home dialysis was actually very popular. In-center was not really the go-to modality of choice. My father-in-law actually worked in dialysis. He would travel around the country and go to people's homes and repair the dialysis machines. And he kind of bestowed that knowledge upon me. I mean,
I was going to say, look at that generation.
He's got stories back into going down into Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Ohio, all over the place. And wonderful stories of people thriving on dialysis at home. And it's a totally different environment as opposed to going into a clinical setting, dealing with people who are there for a paycheck, not necessarily there to make a difference in your life that day, versus being in the comfort of your own home, having access to do whatever you want.
Well, what you're talking about is institutional dialysis treatment. If you go into a clinic, there's probably 30, 40 chairs. And so, they're just moving you in. They're doing dialysis treatment 4 to 5 hours. Then the transportation's picking you up and taking you home. So it's more institutional. In the home, it's your home. So let's talk about the physical layout of what you need. I know you need a machine and you need a water machine. Why don't you explain that?
So we use a different type of dialysis machine that's a lot less intrusive in the home environment. You need to have a care partner, or you need to be able to do your own dialysis, but we are actually spearheading staff-assisted dialysis in the state of Michigan right now, where we'll work with the insurance payer, we'll work with the family, and instead of them having to go in and be trained on how to do the treatments, we'll actually send a skilled, trained dialysis professional into the home daily to perform the dialysis treatments.
So what we're talking about is people have a choice. This is the absolute thing that I think that we should remember today, is that people have a choice. They can be dialyzed in a clinic. They could be dialyzed if they have to go to a skilled nursing home. They could be dialyzed at home. A lot of it has to do economically with the insurance company, or if you have enough money, you can pay someone to do it, or your loved one could dialyze you. But there's choices, and I don't think people realize that there were choices, and it's not the end of the world to have to be on a kidney machine. It's just that you have to choose the right company to help that person out. Would you agree?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's very difficult because your options out there right now, and again, that's why we are doing what we're doing. It's very cookie cutter. So if you don't meet this, if you're not the perfect ideal patient, a lot of times those families, those individuals get looked over because it's harder. You have to do more work for the same amount of reimbursement and all these things, whereas at the end of the
So it could be
day,
an insurance-related issue, too.
insurance-related issue. It could be somebody is on a ventilator or has a tracheostomy, or they have some sort of arthritis, that's affecting how their grip is, where, we'll look at that and say, okay, challenge accepted.
So this is interesting because in my mind, I'm thinking about a person that's 65 years old, doesn't have any other conditions, and their kidneys are failing. Well, that person, I think the insurance company or that person would be more likely to be at home versus a person that has other medical issues going on with them. And that's when they could be in a nursing home and they could be on dialysis. Mm-hmm. The one thing about dialysis in a long-term care or short-term care setting is that because in several facilities that have multiple dialysis chairs, the employees are used to caring for people on dialysis, and as a result, they are watching signs and symptoms a lot closer, and as a result, they're not going to the hospital as often because of kidney failure. They're going to the hospital if they, something else is going wrong with them, but not because of kidney failure. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that a nursing home, if the facility knows what they're doing and uses a company like yours, I think they'll have a good chance of living a better quality of life than if they were to go to a clinic.
Right, mm-hmm. Right, absolutely. So Ryan, quick question for you. Kidney stones, is that correlated at all?
Again, it depends. If you don't drink enough water, you could be more prone to kidney stones. Depending on your diet, you can get a lot of it's dietary related, and sometimes it's
like
infection
too much sugar,
related. Too much sugar, too much oxalates. So leafy green vegetables, very good for you, but too many in a raw form can cause increased oxalates, which will cause kidney stones.
It seems to be more common as we age too. That's why I'm wondering.
Yep, but again, you want to maintain good, adequate hydration.
Right,
it's a big piece of it.
What about coffee?
So coffee is a diuretic. You don't want to rely on it. I mean, coffee's a good stimulant to have, but
at least we're talking about coffee and not alcohol now.
Yeah, right. There you go. So you can have coffee for sure. I'm not going to tell anybody to fall on that sword, but
maybe not as much, right?
Not as much.
One in the morning.
1 to 2 cups in the morning. I know a lot of people that that's their water. And that shouldn't replace your water intake.
It should not replace your water. So my takeaway from today's program is really health and nutrition is huge. We need to focus on, healthy balance of good foods, healthy balance of water, managing it correctly, and being aware of some of the symptoms that could be happening. Like he said, the swollen ankles, your blood work, checking your blood work out. These
less
are the
pop,
things that
less pop,
way less
or no pop.
Yeah.
No
really,
pop. Just cut it out. So I'm going to get my vending machines out of the buildings and just put water in them.
Exactly.
There you go.
Or what about apple juice?
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you to the two of you. God bless you for what you do and caring for our seniors.